One of the biggest challenges in delivering any effective retail system lies in developing something that your stores will not only find easy to use, but that will also deliver a significant and obvious return on investment to the business. For example, labor scheduling provides one of the biggest operational challenges, yet also one of the biggest potential opportunities in bricks and mortar retail, or indeed in any type of live service environment. Overstaffing at the wrong times of day results in vital staff budgets being wasted, whereas understaffing at key trading times results in sales opportunities quite literally walking out of the door. So the biggest conundrum is how to make sure we fulfill our customer service ambitions, whilst ensuring we maintain efficiency and budgetary control in terms of staff hours. From experience, we know that even the most effective manually generated staff schedules, i.e. those that aren't aligning to individual store traffic patterns, are somewhere between 80 to 90% effective, meaning that conversely, they are also 10 to 20% ineffective. This is the online equivalent of having a transactional website that's unavailable for up to 20% of the time, which simply wouldn't be allowed to happen. And since offline retail still accounts for well over 80% of all retail revenues for the majority of companies, it's likely that inefficient staff schedules are costing retailers far more than any online outages could ever do. Therefore, it's reasonable to suggest that a more scientific approach, specifically staffing around both historical and predicted customer demand, would yield rich rewards to those that get it right. Resolving relatively simple technical issues, such as website outages at peak times, is a comparatively simple exercise in the greater scheme of things. But there are many reasons why a significant number of retailers haven't been able to successfully implement electronic labor scheduling solutions. At the heart of this lies the dichotomy between head office objectives versus the realities of staff management and resource planning at store level. There are a number of significant differences between the two. Head office tends to be a more structured environment, whereas stores tend to be more reactive by nature. Head office personnel usually have time to analyze, whereas stores simply don't have the time and require actionable information in bite-sized chunks. Head office tends to take a holistic and sometimes idealistic view of the world, whereas stores tend to focus upon their own local conditions and constraints. Head office has a desire for automation wherever possible, whereas stores need to focus more upon the human element. Finally, we're dealing with people, not inanimate objects, and people have their own feelings, objectives, and unpredictabilities. So when we look at all of this in the context of retailers' objectives in terms of labor scheduling, which can involve anything from part-time to key time to flexi time through to 0 hours contracts, the best we can hope for is something that applies reasonable science, a degree of automation wherever possible, and a simple interface to ensure that even the manual bits are easy. Next, there is the issue of culture and articulating the meaning of labor scheduling within the context of that particular retailer. StoreTech doesn't view labor scheduling as an end in itself, with all the resultant constraints and feelings of alienation and strangulation that these systems can sometimes bring about. The StoreTech philosophy focuses upon the fact that as a retail entity, we now have a more scientific and efficient way of conducting our sales focus, e.g. around the needs and requirements of our customer, and that the staff planning component is just one component part of this new customer service culture. Finally, there is the issue of cost. Traditional traffic counting systems and labor scheduling systems have always been quite expensive to both implement and run, meaning that in many cases only the largest retailers have been able to enjoy the economies of scale needed to make a real success of a project like this. But now, with the prevalence of newer technology, such as cloud computing and Wi-Fi technology, as well as the maturity and coming of age of the World Wide Web, these technologies have not only become far more agile, they can be implemented at both a price and a level of sophistication that is achievable for retailers of all sizes, with a return on investment that is clear and obvious to see.